It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. Our life is frittered away by detail. Simplify, simplify. This world is but a canvas to our imagination. Never look back unless you are planning to go that way. Pursue some path, however narrow and crooked, in which you can walk with love and reverence. Disobedience is the true foundation of liberty. The obedient must be slaves. Be not simply good, be good for something. Friends. They cherish one another's hopes. They are kind to one another's dreams. Goodness is the only investment that never fails. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life. Thank God men cannot fly, and lay waste the sky as well as the earth. None are so old as those who have outlived enthusiasm. As if you could kill time without injuring eternity. It takes two to speak the truth, one to speak, and another to hear. Any fool can make a rule, and any fool will mind it. That man is rich whose pleasures are the cheapest. Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves. Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. An early morning walk is a blessing for the whole day. Things do not change. We change. It is not enough to be busy. So are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? What lies behind us and what lies ahead of us are tiny matters compared to what lives within us. Our truest life is when we are in dreams awake. There is no remedy for love but to love more. To affect the quality of the day, that is the highest of arts. You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. Live the life you've dreamed. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. The bluebird carries the sky on his back. Do what you love. Know your own bone. Gnaw at it, bury it, unearth it, and gnaw it still. Live your life, do your work, then take your hat. A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone. Aim above morality. Be not simply good, be good for something. The heart is forever inexperienced. Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. The language of friendship is not words but meanings. True friendship can afford true knowledge. It does not depend on darkness and ignorance. Money is not required to buy one necessity of the soul. A man cannot be said to succeed in this life who does not satisfy one friend. Dreams are the touchstones of our character. Men have become the tools of their tools. Live your beliefs and you can turn the world around. There are moments when all anxiety and stated toil are becalmed in the infinite leisure and repose of nature. Truths and roses have thorns about them. What is called genius is the abundance of life and health. Under a government which imprisons any unjustly, the true place for a just man is also a prison. What is the use of a house if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on? If we will be quiet and ready enough, we shall find compensation in every disappointment. It is never too late to give up our prejudices. Before printing was discovered, a century was equal to 1,000 years. That government is best which governs least. We are always paid for our suspicion by finding what we suspect. If misery loves company, misery has company enough. We must walk consciously only part way toward our goal, and then leap in the dark to our success. To have done anything just for money is to have been truly idle. The perception of beauty is a moral test. Do not be too moral. You may cheat yourself out of much life so. There is no more fatal blunderer than he who consumes the greater part of his life getting his living. The man who goes alone can start today. But he who travels with another must wait till that other is ready. The smallest seed of faith is better than the largest fruit of happiness. Not only must we be good, but we must also be good for something. The greatest compliment that was ever paid me was when one asked me what I thought, and attended to my answer. In human intercourse the tragedy begins, not when there is misunderstanding about words, but when silence is not understood. The lawyer's truth is not truth, but consistency or a consistent expediency. Every generation laughs at the old fashions, but follows religiously the new. It is only when we forget all our learning that we begin to know. What is once well done is done forever. The squirrel that you kill in jest dies in earnest. The light which puts out our eyes is darkness to us. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. There is more day to dawn. The sun is but a morning star. There is one consolation in being sick, and that is the possibility that you may recover to a better state than you were ever in before. How vain it is to sit down to write when you have not stood up to live. Nature is full of genius, full of the divinity, so that not a snowflake escapes its fashioning hand. It is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. In wildness is the preservation of the world. In the long run, men hit only what they aim at. Therefore, they had better aim at something high. Do not hire a man who does your work for money, but him who does it for love of it. If you would convince a man that he does wrong, do right. Men will believe what they see. It is what a man thinks of himself that really determines his fate. All this worldly wisdom was once the unamiable heresy of some wise man. It is not part of a true culture to tame tigers, any more than it is to make sheep ferocious. Thaw with her gentle persuasion is more powerful than Thor with his hammer. The one melts, the other breaks into pieces. We are not what we are, nor do we treat or esteem each other for such, but for what we are capable of being. We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aid, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn. Faith never makes a confession. The universe is wider than our views of it. Generally speaking, a howling wilderness does not howl. It is the imagination of the traveler that does the howling. To a philosopher all news, as it is called, is gossip, and they who edit and read it are old women over their tea. How does it become a man to behave towards the American government today? I answer that he cannot, without disgrace, be associated with it. Every people have gods to suit their circumstances. The law will never make a man free. It is men who have got to make the law free. It appears to be a law that you cannot have a deep sympathy with both man and nature. Nothing goes by luck in composition. It allows of no tricks. The best you can write will be the best you are. Through our own recovered innocence we discern the innocence of our neighbors. A man's interest in a single bluebird is worth more than a complete but dry list of the fauna and flora of a town. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. If a man constantly aspires, is he not elevated? Nature and human life are as various as our several constitutions. Who shall say what prospect life offers to another? We shall see but a little way if we require to understand what we see. Books can only reveal us to ourselves, and as often as they do us this service we lay them aside. The language of excitement is at best picturesque merely. You must be calm before you can utter oracles. Read the best books first, or you may not have a chance to read them at all. It is best to avoid the beginnings of evil. Night is certainly more novel and less profane than day. There is no odor so bad as that which arises from goodness tainted. Men are born to succeed, not to fail. The savage in man is never quite eradicated. Books are the treasured wealth of the world and the fit inheritance of generations and nations. Justice is sweet and musical, but injustice is harsh and discordant. How could youths better learn to live than by at once trying the experiment of living? Do what nobody else can do for you. Omit to do anything else. After the first blush of sin comes its indifference. We know but a few men, a great many coats and breeches. Only he is successful in his business who makes that pursuit which affords him the highest pleasure sustain him. It is usually the imagination that is wounded first, rather than the heart, it being much more sensitive. There is no rule more invariable than that we are paid for our suspicions by finding what we suspect. There never was and is not likely soon to be a nation of philosophers, nor am I certain it is desirable that there should be. To be awake is to be alive. It is remarkable how closely the history of the apple tree is connected with that of man. All men are children, and of one family. The same tale sends them all to bed, and wakes them in the morning. There is but one stage for the peasant and the actor. In the meanest are all the materials of manhood, only they are not rightly disposed. Ignorance and bungling with love are better than wisdom and skill without. The fibers of all things have their tension and are strained like the strings of an instrument. Instead of noblemen, let us have noble villages of men. It is not desirable to cultivate a respect for the law, so much as for the right. An unclean person is universally a slothful one. Old deeds for old people, and new deeds for new. There is danger that we lose sight of what our friend is absolutely, while considering what she is to us alone. The man who is dissatisfied with himself, what can he do? May we so love as never to have occasion to repent of our love. Nature puts no question and answers none which we mortals ask. She has long ago taken her resolution. Front yards are not made to walk in, but, at most, through, and you could go in the back way. How can any man be weak who dares to be at all? To be admitted to nature's hearth costs nothing. None is excluded, but excludes himself. You have only to push aside the curtain. No face which we can give to a matter will stead us so well at last as the truth. This alone wears well. Men have a respect for scholarship and learning greatly out of proportion to the use they commonly serve. Is the babe young? When I behold it, it seems more venerable than the oldest man. They can do without architecture who have no olives nor wines in the cellar. Those whom we can love, we can hate. To others we are indifferent. It is an interesting question how far men would retain their relative rank if they were divested of their clothes. What old people say you cannot do, you try and find that you can. Old deeds for old people, and new deeds for new. Alas! How little does the memory of these human inhabitants enhance the beauty of the landscape. What is human warfare but just this? An effort to make the laws of God and nature take sides with one party. There is more of good nature than of good sense at the bottom of most marriages. The rarest quality in an epitaph is truth. There is always a present and extant life, be it better or worse, which all combine to uphold. How many things there are concerning which we might well deliberate whether we had better know them. Some are reputed sick and some are not. It often happens that the sicker man is the nurse to the sounder. If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. Make the most of your regrets. Never smother your sorrow, but tend and cherish it till it comes to have a separate and integral interest. To regret deeply is to live afresh. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them. Nature will bear the closest inspection. She invites us to lay our eye level with her smallest leaf, and take an insect view of its plane. if the machine of government is of such a nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then, I say, break the law. There is no value in life except what you choose to place upon it, and no happiness in any place except what you bring to it yourself. Nothing makes the earth seem so spacious as to have friends at a distance. They make the latitudes and longitudes. How sweet is the perception of a new natural fact! If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams, and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. It is better to have your head in the clouds, and know where you are, than to breathe the clearer atmosphere below them, and think that you are in paradise. As you simplify your life, the laws of the universe will be simpler. Solitude will not be solitude, poverty will not be poverty, nor weakness weakness. The cost of a thing is the amount of what I will call life which is required to be exchanged for it, immediately or in the long run. Most of the luxuries and many of the so-called comforts of life are not only not indispensable, but positive hindrances to the elevation of mankind. The finest workers in stone are not copper or steel tools, but the gentle touches of air and water working at their leisure with a liberal allowance of time. Our inventions are wont to be pretty toys, which distract our attention from serious things. They are but improved means to an unimproved end. Every creature is better alive than dead, men and moose and pine trees, and he who understands it aright will rather preserve its life than destroy it. We are for the most part more lonely when we go abroad among men than when we stay in our chambers. A man thinking or working is always alone, let him be where he will. There are certain pursuits which, if not wholly poetic and true, do at least suggest a nobler and finer relation to nature than we know. The keeping of bees, for instance. Faith keeps many doubts in her pay. If I could not doubt, I should not believe. Why should we be in such desperate haste to succeed, and in such desperate enterprises? If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Do not trouble yourself much to get new things, whether clothes or friends. Sell your clothes and keep your thoughts. If you can speak what you will never hear, if you can write what you will never read, you have done rare things. Great men, unknown to their generation, have their fame among the great who have preceded them, and all true worldly fame subsides from their high estimate beyond the stars. A broad margin of leisure is as beautiful in a man's life as in a book. Haste makes waste, no less in life than in housekeeping. Keep the time, observe the hours of the universe, not of the cars. The life which men praise and regard as successful is but one kind. Why should we exaggerate any one kind at the expense of the others? Books are to be distinguished by the grandeur of their topics even more than by the manner in which they are treated. If it is surely the means to the highest end we know, can any work be humble or disgusting? Will it not rather be elevating as a ladder, the means by which we are translated? As for doing good, that is one of the professions which is full. Moreover, I have tried it fairly and, strange as it may seem, am satisfied that it does not agree with my constitution. Truth is always in harmony with herself, and is not concerned chiefly to reveal the justice that may consist with wrongdoing. While civilization has been improving our houses, it has not equally improved the men who are to inhabit them. It has created palaces, but it was not so easy to create noblemen and kings. There is no just and serene criticism as yet,